Hello and welcome to the Hoop Heads Podcast. It's Mike Klinzing here with my co-host Jason Sunkel. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year. New Year, new Browns, baby. Let's go.
Okay, all right.
I'm
Look,
getting
you
us
even got
started.
your little elf sweatshirt on. I
Hey, a
like it.
Christmas present courtesy of my parents. And I told my parents I needed a new brown sweatshirt because I
All
didn't
right,
have a, and they got me this and a quarter zip. It was pretty nice. Pretty nice.
nice. There you go. I'm wearing my theoretical, even though it's just this plain Nike gold sweatshirt. I'm wearing it in honor of my Kent State Golden Flashes, who I went to see play tonight and beat up on the Ball State Cardinals. So good night so far, basketball
Well,
for
thanks
me.
for
So
telling me
hopefully,
what Thanks for telling me what the mascot was for Ball State because I had no
hey
clue until
man.
you just
All right,
said
well
it.
there you go. Hey, the
Is it?
Cardinals.
Do they
There you
have?
go.
Do they? Was their mascot at the game?
Their
Was the
mascot was
Cardinals?
not at the game. No, no,
I
just
wonder what his. Do
Flash,
you know what
just
his name
Flash.
is? Do you know what his name was? Like the Cardinal
The Ball
mascot
State
for Boston.
Cardinal. I have no idea. Does he have a name? I don't know. If he does, I don't know what it is. I got nothing.
All right. The crack research staff might have to look into that during this podcast and figure that
There we
out.
go. See what we got.
Producer.
Somebody get
Anyways,
on that.
yeah. So Mike and I were talking about what we want to talk about, and we are going to kind of stay on like current NBA trends, but at the same time, we decided since it's New Year, we're going to do some New Year's resolutions. And these New Year's resolutions, that's as far as I got with the description with Mike. I left it intentionally vague so that we could manipulate it however we wanted to. Does that sound
Okay,
about
I like
right?
it. That
All
sounds
right.
about right. That sounds about as good as we could get.
So the way that I took this was I was going to take this and say, what do either teams, organizations, or players need to do? What do they need to do to better themselves or just chill a little bit on things? So, my first New Year's resolution is for several players, Mike. These
Several players. All right, I'm
several
ready. I'm
players,
ready.
and they are not on the
Okay.
same team.
Okay.
My New Year's resolution is for NBA players who need it seek counseling or advice from people that are not from their inner circle. So you could probably take a guess as to who I'm referring to, but I'm
And these are
referring
two players
primarily.
from the same draft. These are two players from the same draft class. Is that what you're saying?
No, actually, vastly different draft classes. I was and one of them's currently undergoing some kind of situation of counseling.
Okay.
Would be Draymond Green,
Okay.
and the other person was
Okay.
John Morant, Mike. John Morant, because here's what I'm going to
Zion.
say.
You're not roping Zion in here.
Uh,
Zion's a no-brainer New Year's resolution. I thought you were just going to start off with him, but
No,
okay,
I
go with
no no
Draymond
no.
and Ja.
He may be a separate New Year's resolution about avoiding
Okay,
the buffets. But
okay,
the other two need to make sure that they keep their heads in straight and in check. And I'll be honest with you, I think it's really weird for me to say this. I think there's more hope for John Morant because he's so young that he can change his ways. I don't think Draymond can change his ways, and I think we've addressed this on the podcast. And I know he's going through whatever. And you know, they said it was an indefinite suspension, and then it magically became like, oh, it sounds like he's going to maybe be back in 3 weeks, but now I haven't heard anything. So I don't know if you've seen anything about when he might be coming back, or so
no, I have not seen or
it's
heard
seemingly
anything. I mean, originally that was what they were saying was 3 weeks, but I don't
it's
know what that
been
was
three
based
weeks,
on.
right? That's been 3 weeks already, right? And we haven't heard
It's
anything.
close. It's close.
Yeah, so I don't know. So that's that. And then John Morant, like, listen, if I was in John Morant's like inner circle, I would basically just tell him delete all social media apps, delete anything that you could like do something stupid on that the public can see. And also, I want you to go to three places. It's like you're not allowed to go anywhere but like your house, the practice place, or the facility to play games. Like I would honestly just like completely check yourself out from doing any social events that you're going to make a dumb mistake. And that's what I would do to tell John Morant. So I know that's kind of like two people lumped into one, but that's kind of where I was going with that. Um, Mike, do you have anything you want to add on those two there?
Well, let's start with Ja. I think based on what I've seen and read, it sounds like Ja has basically come out and said that I haven't changed my inner circle. And not to say that he isn't changing his behavior, but I know there was some concern about sort of the antics of his dad on the sidelines, and his dad is still present on the sidelines. And so
Yeah.
there are some things that make you wonder whether or not the changes that are necessary are going to be made. I think what is inarguable after he's come back is A, how good John Morant is as a player, and B, the fact that he has made a huge difference in the Memphis Grizzlies. And without him, obviously they were at the very bottom of the league. And since he's returned, they have completely righted the ship and got things going in the right direction. And so when you start talking about what you want for John Morant, clearly all of us, anybody wants John Morant to make good decisions and to stay on the basketball floor and be able to reach the immense potential that this guy has. I mean, you're talking about arguably one of the 10 to 12 best players in the league. And I think he's demonstrated that since he's come back, just with his play out on the floor and how he's elevated the Grizzlies. And I think one of the things that was always said about him prior to sort of this situation or situations occurring was just what a good teammate he was and how unselfish he was, what a good passer he was. And clearly the league was positioning him to start to become one of the guys that was a face of the NBA. And that's what made this whole thing so disappointing. And so you hope that, as you said, young guy has made some mistakes. Hopefully he gets it together off the floor and we're able to see him out on the floor at his
Yep.
best because I mean he's just an incredible talent, both a physical talent, but also from a basketball IQ standpoint and the way he gets his teammates involved, the way he passes, the way he reads the floor. And then you talk about the athleticism. I know that before we jumped on, we were both looking at the highlight of him dunking over Victor Wembanyama today. And there are very few 6'1", 6'2" guys in the world who are capable of dunking the way that Morant dunked tonight on Wembanyama and the way that he just flies up and down the floor with his dunks and block shots and everything that he does from an athletic standpoint. And he
Yep.
just makes the Grizzlies better. And yeah, I think we all hope that he stays out of trouble, keeps his nose clean, and does the things that are necessary for him to remain on the floor so that he can continue to shine on the basketball court. And that's really what it's all about. So on the other hand, with Draymond, I think the big question with him is if you're Golden State, what do you do with this guy? When he comes back, are they just going to try to ride it out with him? I mean, he just signed that big extension in the offseason where I think he signed for another 4 years beyond this year. And if you're Golden State, is that somebody that you want to continue to pay? Are they willing to break up Steph, Clay, and Draymond? And is there going to be another taker out there for Draymond based on his erratic behavior that we've seen? Does he need a change of scenery? Does that matter? I know we talked last week and you said that you don't think that he's going to change. You kind of hinted at that again tonight. I don't know what to make of it. It seems hard to believe that Golden State would trade him. And then at the same time, I guess if you're a contender, you could talk yourself into Draymond sort of brings all those things that he's always brought to the Warriors, and maybe where it hasn't been poisoned, kind of with the Jordan Poole thing and just all the things that he's done on the floor, dating back to almost the beginning of his career when he started playing for the Warriors. There's been incident after incident and thing after thing, and obviously it's accelerated here in the last season or so.
Yep.
But I don't know who would talk themselves into as far as a contender. Look, if you got the best version of Draymond Green, there's not one team that is an NBA title contender that would say we wouldn't want the very best version of Draymond Green on our team. That's a guy that every team would want. The question is, do you want to put up with his antics? And I think Golden State is probably close to being at the end of their rope. I mean, you could hear it when Steve Kerr talked about Draymond Green over the last couple of years that even though he would never come out and say it, you could kind of read between the lines and get a feel for sort of the way he talked, how he felt about Draymond. So something tells me that he's not going to be a Golden State Warrior for the entirety of this season because I don't think the Warriors are going to deal Clay, and I don't think they can go forward next season having Clay, who's going to have to be re-signed, and Draymond and Steph, that's a pretty highly paid trio of guys who, at this stage of their career, I don't think Clay and Draymond can be two of your three best players and get you to a title. And Steph's been just so good that I think the Warriors are going to look really, really hard at trying to find a place to ship Draymond. And maybe they have to attach a draft pick. Maybe they have to attach one of those young guys to Draymond in the pick in order to be able to get something done. But I got a feeling that Draymond ends up somewhere else. I don't know where, but I think he ends up getting traded. I don't know how you think about it.
Um, I I think it's gonna be really, to be honest with you, I think it's gonna be really hard to move him. Like, I just don't think anyone's gonna do it, and I just don't think he's gonna come back and play. Like, I'm on the bandwagon that he's not. He might not see the floor the rest of the year.
See,
I just
I think somebody takes a chance on him. I think somebody that had like I
so
could
is Golden
see. I
State
know
going to
there's.
take peanuts on a dollar on for him because of the fact of all of his problems, or do you think they're going to
I think the
command?
problems, and I think the problems. I think the contract, right? Like if you could ship out the contract and bring back somebody who maybe isn't expiring, who you thought could be your seventh, eighth, ninth man, maybe, and you're just getting off the contract. I could see a deal going down like that. I know there's been a lot of talk that
What about Draymond for
maybe he
Kevin
ends up.
Love?
I think Miami would be a place where he could go and heat culture, right? You take him in there, and look, you only need him to be on the straight and narrow for 6 months, and
Actually, I take that back though. I don't want Kevin Love to go to Golden State. I would hurt my heart a
yeah, I
little
wouldn't
bit.
want Kevin Love in Golden State. I look, I could see Draymond. I think he would probably be. I mean, I look at the East. Nobody in the East. I think that either A could trade for him or B would necessarily want to. I don't think the Celtics want or need him. I don't think the Bucks want or need him. Sixers, he could maybe make sense for the Sixers, and Philadelphia could probably put something together that could package out and get Golden State somebody that could help them as part of the rotation. So maybe Philly, Miami, maybe. Other than that, I don't see any teams in the East. And then in the West, I've heard a lot of Lakers talk that you bring Draymond in, pair him with his newfound buddy LeBron, and the two of them end up playing together. I don't think Phoenix can't do anything because they're capped out. Dallas, I think, is in that same situation. New Orleans could potentially do something. They got all those draft picks and a lot of young guys that they're having trouble finding
Yeah.
minutes for. If New Orleans fancies himself a team that, hey, if we can get it together, that look, New Orleans is 20-14, and their team feels like they're just a goofy mess. And we'll probably get to Zion here at some point. But man, if you're New Orleans, you're looking around at the roster that you have and the versatility that you have, and you're like, God, if we could just get Zion in condition and get the guy to care and play to his potential, New Orleans. I mean, I know this isn't going to happen because I don't think we're ever going to see that actualized version of Zion anytime soon. But man, if you put the very best version of Zion Williamson on this Pelicans roster and make that roster healthy, that team's good. That team's good. I would not want to play a healthy New Orleans Pelicans team in the playoffs with an in shape Zion that was playing to the peak of his abilities. I would not want to do this. I could see New Orleans doing it. I could see Sacramento, as crazy as that sounds, I could see them talking themselves into Draymond brings us a defensive presence that helps us to bolster our top five in the league offense. So I think there's some Western Conference teams that maybe could trade for him, but I just don't know if Golden State wants him back. And I especially don't know if they want him back beyond this year. And I know they signed him to a 4-year extension, so maybe my theory is completely wrong. But I think I Warriors to some degree are done with Draymond and his antics. I guess it depends on Steph. Really, that's what it comes down to. Probably is does
Yep.
Steph still want the guy around, or is Steph like, hey, this guy continuously is shooting our team in the foot, and maybe it might be better if we just get rid of him and bring in some other pieces. So something tells me they're going to trade him. I don't know what it is, but I feel like he's going to be somewhere else by the time the trade deadline rolls around.
Okay. All right. What's your first resolution? Like going
All right.
up
So
15 minutes in, we've done one resolution. We're doing.
yeah, we're not quite on our, we always set a very ambitious time limit for ourselves, and it never ends up coming anywhere close to our self-imposed deadline. Okay, so my resolution is for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the Oklahoma City Thunder right now is 23. They are 23-9. Tonight, they beat the Boston Celtics. Shea goes for 36. Giddy, who we can leave his resolutions off to the side for now, but Giddy went 23, 8, and 6 tonight. And I think it's time to start thinking about Oklahoma City as this is a legitimate NBA Finals potential team. Shea has been as good, if not better, than he was last year. He's averaging 30 plus. When you watch them play, it feels like he can kind of get almost any shot he wants whenever he wants against whoever is defending him. Chet has obviously exceeded, I think, everybody's realistic expectations for him. I think that people thought that he could probably get to the level that he's at now, but I don't think anybody expected him to do it in this his first season. And so my resolution for the Oklahoma City Thunder is that they use some of their treasure trove of picks to get another impact player. I don't know who that player is, but I think that Oklahoma City could use one more guy that would give them a little bit more juice on the offensive end. Or they're also a team, look, they would be an interesting Draymond Green team because they could use some of his physicality and
I was about to
intensity.
say Draymond, Mike. I was just about to say Draymond could theoretically. Now I don't know what they'd have to give up to do that, but
They
Dort.
have so many. They have like 17. They have like 17 picks. I mean, they have dudes. They have dudes on their roster that they could trade, like Usman Jang, who plays some. Some team could talk themselves. I don't know, be Golden State, but talk themselves into Poku. I think they have. They just have so much draft equity that they're never going to be able to use to actually draft players in the draft. That it feels like they could package a bunch of guys and get somebody of value. I think Draymond could make some sense. I could see them going to Utah if Utah decides, hey, let's completely pull the plug and trying to get maybe Jordan Clarkson or maybe you try to get Colin Sexton. I'm not saying that those guys are superstars and they're going to push that team over the edge, but I'd like to see Oklahoma City get one more guy that could score and be a part of their rotation.
That would
And
not be Draymond though.
no,
You
but
can't
he's
do.
bringing something else to the table. That's
Yeah.
the other. So I think the two types of players they need are a guy that can score, or they need a physical guy that can help them rebound, right? Because they're missing Steven Adams, who obviously was a big part of their team. And if you put him in there, sorry, I'm thinking about Memphis, right? Steven
Yeah.
Adams
Yeah.
is Memphis. That was a long time ago. He was with the Thunder, but they just I think they need a rugged rebounder. That's what they need. And who that is, I'm not sure. I don't know who they can get, but those are the two archetypes of players I'd be looking for. Another guy who can score and a guy who can rebound and be physical and play next to Chet, where Chet's spreading the floor and that you still have a guy to do some of the dirty work inside. So Thunder getting
I,
one
li-
more guy. That's my
I
first one.
I like that, Mike. I like that a lot, and I think. Listen, the Thunder have been an interesting team for to me this year. Like I've really enjoyed watching them when I watch them. Unfortunately, they didn't get a lot. They don't have a lot of national televised games. Mike, they just don't. Like I've seen them play the Cavs twice. I saw a bit. I saw some of the stuff tonight because that was on NBA TV, but I don't have NBA TV, but I have my ways. I saw some stuff on the Twitter sphere a little bit, but like I just wish they were on like more frequently. And this goes back to what I was talking about last episode. Like if the NBA was smart, I actually talked about it with my dad today because like the NFL, okay, the NFL doesn't set the schedule for the last week of games until like yesterday. Like they didn't set it. And I understand they have a venue, but Christmas Day games, Oklahoma City versus Minnesota would have been a great Christmas Day game. There's no doubt that would have been a fantastic Christmas Day game, better than any of the games that we had on the slate. Like they need to come up with a way to address the Christmas Day schedule and not go with something that's planned in the summer. And I think Oklahoma City playing on Christmas Day, I know it's not a big market, but they're playing well enough. They deserve the spot in the Christmas Day games. So I would just like to see them more. And I think that's the other thing is I wish that they would flex games out that are not national televised worthy. Now I know that's hard to do because of the days of the week and Thursday night games are only scheduled the TNT games, but there are some Tuesday night games that are terrible that are on ESPN. Like take a 7 p.m. game, flip it to 8 p.m. and have the other game go at 7 p.m. What's an hour? Like they can figure it out. You can figure it out. They need to do that more. That's not a New Year's resolution. That's just me complaining that Oklahoma City hasn't been on my TV enough. Mike.
There's definitely a way for the league to do that. I think there's definitely something that they could do. So let's get that resolution done for Adam Silver.
Yeah, okay. All right. My next resolution is for all NBA coaches, primarily JB Bickerstaff, but a lot of NBA coaches. I need you to stop complaining about officiating and just deal with it. Coach your team. Stop complaining about venues, Steve Kerr. The Phoenix Suns venue. It's what is this place? It's like a nightclub. Dude, give me a break. I've been in the queue was I've been super loud playing music all the time. You saw the video. You saw the video of the DJ who mixed the Steve Kerr complaining. Did
Yes,
you?
yes, yes. Yeah, that was good. Yeah,
That
that
was
was good.
great. That was great. That was good. Like I just want the coaches to focus on their team and stop complaining just to complain. That's a New Year's resolution I would like. Now I'm gonna hold my breath that JB Bickerstaff is gonna follow that New Year's resolution because he complains so much. He complains. Mike, I'm not lying to you. I think he complains more in one NBA game than I do in a whole season about calls in my middle school basketball. And I don't really get complained. My first 2 years coaching, I used to be more like adamant, but now I'm just like, you know what? These poor people that are getting paid nothing to ref my middle school basketball games, it's not worth my time or effort. Now I have a pretty good relationship with all the officials, so because we have the same officials very often, so like I feel comfortable in talking to them. And if I was Steve Kerr or JB Bickerstaff, like I don't want to have that reputation where I'm just going to complain because then I'm not going to get any calls because that's the coach that always is complaining. And I honestly feel that's the way. Like your takeaway from the last night's game, JB Bickerstaff, was that Pascal Siakam traveled on the inbounds, which he did. 100% he did. But your takeaways from that, not from the 500 other things, not for the 6 possessions in the last 3 minutes of the game that we took the ball up the court and just jacked up a terrible three. Like
You didn't
honestly, I
like
think
that
in the last
offense? You didn't love that offense?
I like honestly think the only offensive possession play that I liked in the last 7 possessions was when Donovan Mitchell went to the lane and just missed the floater. I thought that was a good take to the basket and it was a good look. Every other look was terrible in that game. So worry about your team and execution, and then the travel won't be the problem. Because we would have won the game, it would have been over. Or how about the fact that like we're fouling people like crazy? Now I think like the one Jared Allen foul I wasn't in agreement with, but you just got to play through it. You know what I'm talking about? Pascal Siakam going in the lane,
Yes, yes, yes.
finished, and I don't think that was a foul on Jared Allen. But at the same time, you just got to roll with it and stop complaining because you're just going to get that reputation. Honestly, Mike, I'm getting on bandwagon with you. I think he's
Well,
gone
I've
at
been
the
on
end
it
of
for
the
a
year.
while.
He's
Yeah,
got
I've been on
he's
it.
gone at the end of the year. Unless we
Look,
make
I don't
finals,
know.
he's gone.
I don't know what percentage of the time during a telecast that they're choosing to show JB Bickerstaff on the sidelines. Maybe during the other 98% of the time where the camera is not on him, maybe he is coaching his team. But I do know that whoever runs the cameras, whenever they put it on to JB, he is constantly just making faces and complaining about officiating. And I see him doing that more than he's doing anything else. Now, again, maybe that's only because the cameras are choosing to put him on there when he's doing and saying things and complaining about the officials, which maybe that's a fair criticism. But I just feel like he spends so much time just making faces and complaining and arguing about this and that and the other thing and telling the officials that they're terrible and this. And I just look, to some degree, every NBA coach tries to work the officials, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But ultimately, I'd much rather see him putting his energy into trying to coach the team. As you said, down the stretch against the Raptors last night, it was ridiculous. They had 3 or 4, 5 straight possessions where they just got no kind of a good look, and there was no design of anything. It was just bring it up, and the guy who dribbles it up shoots it, or bring it up, the guy who dribbles it up the court passes once, and we fire up a terrible shot. And that was a winnable game last night against the Raptors, and it just felt like we were completely discombobulated at the end of the game. And I'm not saying that's because Bickerstaff is complaining to the officials and not trying to coach his team, but when you look at him and what you see on a telecast, it certainly looks that way. And to be honest with you, I'm tired of seeing it. I'd much rather see him coach his team and not spend all of his time worried about the officials. I just don't think you're doing your team a positive service by doing that. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Okay. All right, your next one. Go ahead.
All right. So, my next one, when I look at all the teams at the bottom of the league, and I start thinking about what team would I like to see get the number one pick, or maybe not even the number one pick, but find the best player in the draft, whoever
And
that
this
might be.
draft
So
is
basically,
this draft is not looking very strong. Is that accurate, Mike?
that's what everybody is saying. However, just because that's the case doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't a potential top 10 player in the league in the draft at a lower spot. So, what I'm looking at is what team at the bottom of the rankings, at the bottom of each conference, would I most like to see come up with the best player? And you're going to be surprised by my choice. But
If don't
I
say
hope
Detroit.
that no, it is not. It is not. It is not
Hey,
Detroit.
wait. We're clapping for Detroit, Mike. They won a game. We're clapping.
They won a game. They won a game. Kudos
Here,
to them.
brief side note. Detroit, your New Year's resolution is try to win more than 3 games the rest of the season. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Hey, they already accomplished their New Year's resolution. They won a game, but whew, man, 3-30. That still does not look good. Okay, so my team that I want to see get the best player in the next draft
Hold on,
is
let
the
me think about
Charlotte
this.
Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets.
Oh, okay.
The Charlotte
Okay.
Hornets. So let me tell you why. So when I look at these other teams at the bottom of the conferences, Detroit, that's just a dumpster fire. Monty Williams, highest paid coach. They're completely
Dumpster
dysfunctional.
fire.
I do not understand at all what they're doing with Oscar Thompson. I don't know if you ever look at Twitter and you see anything about the
Hey,
Pistons. Pistons
I don't
fans
know
are
what
completely just unbelievably livid of the fact that
the only
Oscar Thompson for like the first 20 games was averaging like 14, 8, and 6. And since then his minutes have been cut in half. And it's
the
just
only thing I
it's
saw about the
unbelievable.
Thompson. Did you know that the Thompson twins are also dating a set of twins? Because I found that out on Twitter yesterday.
I did not know that, but that's interesting. Very interesting.
And
That
they
could get
look
very confusing.
identical. So they look
Okay.
identical too, Mike. So
All right. I don't even
this is like
I don't I'm gonna leave the Thompson twins dating scene off to the side. But
I saw it.
so
Well,
I don't want to be
the only reason I saw it, Mike, was because they played Houston yesterday, and the Twins went
right. They
against
did
one another.
right. I saw.
So
Didn't
they
they trade
so
jerseys or something too?
the two girlfriends were at the game. That's the only reason I saw
Okay,
it. I
nice.
saw it.
All right. Well, there you go. All right. So anyway, I don't want Detroit to get the number one pick because or want them to get the best player because I'm not sure what I'm rolling into there. The
He did
Wizards,
play. He
even
played
if
almost as many minutes. He played as almost minutes as his brother Mike. He played 25,
well,
and
Amen's been
his
hurt. Amen's been
his
hurt. He
brother
hasn't played.
Amin played 28. He had 12
Okay,
points, so that was good.
I think those two dudes are going to be good. I mean, I don't think they're going to be superstar good, but I think they're both going to be really good players in the league for a long time. They're both athletic, and they have just a plethora of all around basketball stars. They're just good basketball players. And so I think they're going to be, I think they're going to be guys who are going to be real good players in the league for a long time. But I don't want to see this guy, whoever this presumed best player in the draft, I don't want to see him go to Detroit. The Wizards, even if you give them one best player, they're still a long way away from putting together a functional team. Toronto, Atlanta, Chicago, Brooklyn, and none of those teams. Then out west, San Antonio already has Wemby. I'm not, I guess, super excited of figuring out how I could pair somebody with Wembyama. Still early on what he's going to be. Portland, Utah. Uh, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Utah is kind of in this, even though they're at the bottom, I still kind of feel like they're almost stuck a little bit on the treadmill. So when I look at Charlotte, and I know I've kind of said that I'm not a huge fan of LaMelo, and I'm not sure if LaMelo is a winning player or is he just a player who's a good
Bad
stats,
stat,
bad
good
team
stats, bad
guy.
team.
Is he that? Is he that guy? But yet at the same time, like a dude at his size that can pass the way he can and shoots the ball the way he can, I feel like if you put him in the right situation, you might unlock something. And I'm not sure exactly what LaMelo's ceiling is, but I know there's a bunch of skill in there. And then I think Brandon Miller is probably never going to be the best player on a really good team. He might not even be the second best player on a really good team, but Brandon Miller is going to be a good player in the league for a long time. And I just think if you could put one more guy on that team and pair him, somebody who matched well, who fit well with LaMelo. So somebody who was a good defender, shoot the ball off of LaMelo passing ability and play off of that. I feel like that it would be interesting to see that best player go to Charlotte. So I'm resolving that the number one pick or at least the best player in next year's draft somehow ends up in Charlotte with the Hornets. Plus, they have new ownership. So why not? Let's see. Now that Michael's gone, maybe they'll turn it
Get rid
around.
of that guy. Greatest
Get rid of
basketball
that guy.
player all time.
That
Not a
Jordan
good
that
owner.
Jordan guy. That Jordan guy has no idea what he's doing. So let's get Michael back out on the court, and I think we need to keep him out of the executive offices, at least in terms of the NBA. Business wise, no problem. Put him in a Nike C suite, but I think we need to keep him out of the NBA C suite at this point.
Okay, sounds good. All right. My next, which way do I want to go with this one? All right, here we go. My next New Year's resolution is for the city of Los Angeles. Can you guess where I'm going for this, Mike? Here's where I'm going. City of Los Angeles. Do not get your hopes up and believe in James Harden because this Los Angeles Clippers dream is not going to reach fulfillment. They are playing very good basketball right now. Agree or disagree, Mike? They're playing very good basketball right now.
You can't argue with the fact they're fourth. They're up to fourth in the West.
We know here's what's going to happen, guys. You're gonna maybe end up in the top 3, top 2 in the West, and then the playoffs is going to happen. Okay, and I've seen it. Kawhi has played fantastically. He has looked like old Kawhi. But do I believe that Kawhi Leonard is going to remain playing at old Kawhi statement place? I don't. Something's gonna happen. He's gonna get hurt. Then you're gonna get James Harden. He's gonna decide that he has to dribble the basketball for 5 minutes at the top of the key. You're gonna get the old James Harden bad habits are gonna come back, and yeah, I know it's hard to buy it right now, Mike, with the current standings. Oh, My app just froze. I was going to look at it. With the current standings, with the Los Angeles Lakers in the 10th spot, but I still have more faith in the Los Angeles Lakers winning an NBA championship than I do the Los Angeles Clippers. And I'm not that's saying that that's a much greater wide, like it's not a huge gap, but I still have more faith in the Lakers than I do the Clippers because LeBron's on the Lakers, Harden's on the Clippers. What more do I need to say? There you go.
There's not much to say there. I think if you're a Clippers fan and you think that what you're currently seeing is what you're going to continue to see in the playoffs, has been proved patently wrong time after time after time after time. And if Kawhi and Paul George are both healthy and you realize James Harden's role in Clippers playoff performances, then sure. I don't know what I'm buying into when I'm talking about the Clippers. I mean, I don't think the best version of these Clippers, which includes a mediocre James Harden who's not killing you because you just aren't allowing him to do things. But unfortunately for the Clippers, what's happened is that here in the regular season, just like he was doing with Philly last year, Harden is doing things and he is playing well and he is playing that role of distributing the ball and keeping it in his hands and getting it to Kawhi, getting it to Paul George. And we know that come playoff time, it's just not going to happen. Like I said it before he got traded. I don't understand why any team would want to bring this if what you're trying to do is win an NBA championship, which the Clippers are not at this point trying to break the code and get into the playoffs or crack the play in. That's not the stage where they are. Regular season success to this version of the Clippers is meaningless. And so that means that their season basically comes down to, since these two guys have been in town, how do we perform in the playoffs and can we win an NBA title? And James Harden is not the answer to that question. He's not going to change who he is at age 34, 35 years old, whatever he is, and suddenly become this lights out playoff performer. It's just not going to happen. So I agree with you 100% in terms of where the Clippers are right now. And hopefully their fans aren't putting too much stock in what they're seeing and how that translates to postseason basketball. So
All right.
my
You
next
got another one,
resolution
Mike?
follows, yeah, my next one follows that same line of thinking. And I'm going to try to be optimistically pessimistic or pessimistically optimistic, depending on how you look at it. So, my resolution is for the Philadelphia 76ers to finally enjoy regular season Joel Embiid performing to that same level in the playoffs. Now, I've said it numerous times. I'm dubious that that's going to happen. I'm
Yeah.
dubious that that can happen. But for the Philadelphia 76ers franchise and for their fans, if that could happen, Philadelphia is at that point a legitimate threat to win the NBA title. Now, I'll go on record now, as I've gone on record many times in this podcast. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Joel Embiid is in the kind of shape that he needs to be in order to be able to play 44 minutes a night over the course of 4 playoff series. Plus, you factor in his weird injury history that he's had, which you can maybe blame him or not blame him, depending on how you want to look at it. But the fact remains is that Embiid has been a materially worse player in every Philadelphia 76ers playoff run than he's been in the regular season. And that's not to say that he's been awful, but he has not been anywhere near the level that he's played in the regular season. And so my wish is for Embiid to come through in the playoffs and match his regular season performance. And if he were to do that, suddenly Philadelphia is in a different type of conversation when it comes to the NBA championship. I don't see it happening, but it would be a nice thought and a nice resolution for the Sixers and their fans.
All right. My New Year's resolution. I kind of alluded to it earlier. Zion, stay away from the buffet. Stay
All
away from
right.
the buffet so you're healthy and you can play basketball. I mean, it's pretty simple. I think I've said this 3 years now. Like arguably this is probably one of the most productive years of his career, right, Mike? And he's not. But here's the problem: he's not. He's having a good year. He's not having a great year, and he
I
could be
cannot
having a
make my
great year.
statement that I cannot make my statement that I always like to make, which is when he's been on the court, he has been historically great. When he has been
He's
on the court this year, which is much more than he's been on the court in recent seasons, he has not been historically great. He
like
has been
tonight,
good.
Mike. Tonight, 10 points, 5 of 9 from the field. Played 25 minutes. Now they
Now they
blew out.
killed.
They
Yeah.
killed him.
Yeah,
But still, like
they completely blew out the Brooklyn Nets, who are at this point an abject disaster. I think they had like 8 guys in double figures. So
no, did the Brooklyn Nets
and
take a rest day for starters again?
they may they may very well have. I think the thing with Zion is, and look, you and I have joked and we have a running bet and everything else that goes along with it. But
You're looking a lot
I
better
don't
right
think
now,
that
by the way. You're looking a lot better right now.
yeah, I am. So he's played 27 games this season. So that's pretty
20,
good
28,
to this
including
point.
tonight, Mike. 28 now.
Okay, 28. Sorry.
28
So
now.
20 up, he's up to 28 games. I think the thing with that you see what he could be, seen it at various times. And so you want to be able to have that guy reach his potential. You want to be able to see
Mike,
what he can
he only
be.
needs
It's
to play two more games to make this out of his 4 years the second most games he's played in his career.
yeah, which that in and of itself is an indictment of who and what Zion has been. But at the same time, it's like I said earlier, if you were to put the best version of Zion Williamson, which was like 25 or 30 games of, I think not last year, but was that 2 seasons ago, where basically he was playing point Zion and he just was rumbling to the rim and nobody could stop him. And he, as we've said a bunch of times, he's a really good passer. The one thing he doesn't do very well is rebound, but he's always been a really good passer. And
Well, it's hard to get off the floor, Mike.
yeah, there you go. So if you put the best version of Zion on this Pelicans team could be, I don't know if they'd win the championship, but they'd be a legitimate title contender. And they would not be a team that anybody would look forward to playing and trying to defend. So, but it's not, there's no indication at this point, at any point in his career, that that's the Zion that we're going to get. And so I don't anticipate that happening, but man, what a great resolution. And it's something that, despite the fact that we have this ongoing bet, these ongoing jokes, I think both of us would love to see the best version of Zion play out and have a 10 or 12-year career playing at peak level. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yep.
All right, my next one is the Los Angeles Lakers and LeBron James, that somehow, some way, LeBron gets to play with Bronny. And it's not the fact that I think Bronny's going to be some great NBA player, because I don't think that's the case. It's not the case where I think, oh, LeBron's got to do whatever it takes to make this thing happen. I just think it would be pretty cool for him to be on a team with his son. And as a father with a son, and just thinking about what that would feel like, look like for LeBron, with all the things that LeBron has done in his career, for him to be able to do and experience that, I just think it'd be pretty cool. And I don't know if that'll happen with the Lakers. I don't know if it could potentially happen somewhere else. It seems unlikely that LeBron would leave the Lakers as a free agent. It seems also unlikely that Bronny's going to go pro after this season. But at some point, I hope that happens for LeBron. I think it'd be really cool.
All right. I've exhausted my 4, Mike. So I don't know if you have any more.
You're completely out.
Yeah, I had 4. I
All right,
put
let me
him down.
see. I feel like I had one. Feel like I had one more.
See, I apologize to the listeners. We didn't say how many we were going to come up with. We just kind of said we would come up with them. So, does,
My last one. This is more a personal one than anything else, but my resolution relates to the Orlando Magic. See if you can think of what my resolution is for the Orlando Magic.
Markel Fultz related?
Markel Fultz. I would love to see Fultz get back on the floor and come back from his injury and be a part of what Orlando has been able to put together to this point. And I think that if and when he comes back, I think that he will be a welcome addition to their team. I still think they need shooting, which Fultz obviously doesn't provide at a super high level. But last year at the end of the season, Markel Fultz was really playing well and doing a lot of good things. And as anybody who's listened to the podcast over the course of time knows that I have, for whatever reason, a soft spot for Markel Fultz, and I would love to see him come back and get to be a part of what is happening right now with the Orlando Magic. So, wishing for a quick and speedy recovery for Markel Fultz.
All right. Here's my brief, quick fifth New Year's resolution. Cavs, you better
All
go
right.
3-0 before the next time we report back because we play the Wizards tomorrow. We play the Wizards Friday, and then we play the Spurs on Sunday. But that's an interesting game though, Mike. Why is Sunday an interesting game against the Spurs?
I don't know why.
It's at 1 p.m. We're playing in Paris, Mike.
Oh,
We're playing in
okay.
Paris.
I did not realize
So
that.
are you tuning into that or the Browns' meaningless football game?
I will probably, in all honesty, I would say I would probably be watching more of the meaningless Browns game and flipping back to the Cavs,
It
or
is
have the
Wemby
Cavs
though.
game
It is
going on.
Wemby. They're playing the Spurs.
Have the Cavs going on my phone and going on my TV. I don't know. I'll have to see.
Yeah. So there you go. They better go 3-0. I will report back. I'm going to the tomorrow's a really busy day, Mike. I've got a lot of stuff in the morning and then I'm going to the game tomorrow with Will, Jake, my dad, and my mom. So the five of us are going to
All
the game
right.
tomorrow, Cavs game. So
Nice. There you go. That'll be fun.
yeah, so yeah, it'll be a
That'll be fun.
good
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 work.
distraction for my dad nonetheless, but that'll be good.
I
So
like it. Well, look, we have five games right now. Actually it's a 6-game homestand. So you have, as you said, Wizards, Spurs, Brooklyn, who has completely fallen in the tank, Chicago, who is playing better, and then home for Milwaukee. I
and
think you
that's
probably
and
want
by
to
the way,
win.
that's crazy. That's crazy that we play all those games. We played that 6 games in like 3 weeks. That's like 2 games a week. That's a lot, right? I mean, we play six
Six
games through
games
the 17th
and really
in
through the night until the 20th. So you're
six
looking at
games in almost
six
like
games
three
in
weeks.
16 days, and all at home.
That
That's a stretch where
that
it
should
feels
be.
like you got to go 5 out of 6 in that stretch.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, we've got to because listen, it's not going to get easier from there, right? I mean, we have a pretty
Right. Yeah.
and Garland's supposedly going to come back. I don't know when. They said end of January originally, but I just look at the rest of the month of January and oof, we played Milwaukee. We played Milwaukee 3 times this month. Who
Yep.
scheduled us that crap?
Hey man, come on! You got the baseball series. Both at Milwaukee are there Wednesday and Friday, the 24th
Luckily,
and
we end the
26th of
season
Jan.
with the Pistons. I was starting to think maybe that was going to be the game. We were going to somehow be the team that lost to the Pistons. Now, I'm not saying we won't lose to the Pistons, but I was starting to think that might be we might break the streak. Thank God for that other team that.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Any other NBA? I guess really quickly, Mike. Do we want to discuss the trade, the meaningless trade? Do we do like?
Yeah, we can talk
Honestly,
about it. Let's
let's
talk
talk
about it
about
for
really quick.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay, OG to the main things is this: OG to the Knicks, quickly and Barrett to the Raptors, and I think Precious Achiuwa is also included in that trade. and some other guys that I've never heard of. But those are the four main building blocks. Okay. And here's what, and Precious says it's really stretched to call him a building block. Here's what I'm going to say, Mike. I think this trade doesn't make either team a championship caliber team. From what I've heard and read, it sounds like the Knicks are going to probably be in the market for another move. Um, but here's the problem. Like, I honestly think this probably makes Toronto better, right? I think this makes Toronto better. And the fact that the Knicks just gave up quickly, included in this RJ, I mean, it was clear they wanted to move on from RJ Barrett, but I feel like quickly is a underrated player that they gave up in this trade. I honestly think Toronto won the trade because they, like, once again, and this is very, and I know the Cavs lost to them last night, but this is very like, to me, this isn't going to make either of these teams a championship team. These moves aren't that like earth shattering. But I honestly think like this is going to do more for Toronto in the positive direction than it's going to do the Knicks. I don't know if this is just like the Knicks felt like they needed to do something, make some kind of splash. I just don't feel like this trade right here is going to change the Knicks like footprint, so to speak. I don't know what's the word, like their path forward. So that's all I want to say on it. I don't know what your thoughts were. I think you shared a lot of the same thoughts that I did, I believe. But
Yeah, my initial reaction was meh. I mean, I think OG Ananobi is maybe a marginally better player than RJ Barrett in that Barrett, I think, is probably has a wider range of skills. I think he's better with the ball than Ananobi. I think he's probably a better passer. But the fact remains is that if you have Barrett doing all those things, he's kind of mediocre at a lot of skills, if that makes sense. Like he's okay, he's fine. He has a lot of skills, but he's not great at any one thing. He doesn't excel in any one area. So you're kind of getting this jack of all trades who's okay at everything. Versus Ananobi, I don't think I wouldn't want him handling as much as I might want Barrett handling the ball. I think that Ananobi is probably a better defender than RJ Barrett. He's probably a better just stand still, knock down 3-point shooter. I don't think he puts it on the floor as well as Barrett. So you're just kind of trading out. It's almost like you're trading out one type of player for another type of player. And maybe you could argue that Ananobi fits better in New York with a guy like Brunson who's going to have the ball in his hands all the time on offense, and then Ananobi just spots up, and then Ananobi fits in with sort of the physical nature of how the Knicks like to defend and rebound and all that kind of thing. And then with Barrett, you put him on Toronto, and he's with Scotty Barnes. He's kind of their secondary playmaker behind, or I guess like tertiary playmaker behind, for the time being at least, Siakam and Scotty Barnes. And then quickly, the concern you have with Quickly is obviously the fact that last year in that playoff series against the Cavs, he kind of disappeared, and he
so
had
did
a
the whole
really good
Cavs
season
team.
last year.
So
Yeah, right, exactly. And I think Quickly's been probably not quite as good this year as he was last year in the regular season, but certainly he's a guy that if you're Toronto, you're willing to take a chance on him that he can maybe be something more if you give him a little bit bigger role. But I don't think that this is a blockbuster trade for Toronto where suddenly you have RJ Barrett and he becomes this one or 1A or 2 player in your rebuild behind Scotty Barnes. I think at best I think if he's your third best player, I'm not sure how good you are. Maybe he's got to be your fourth best player, which isn't saying a whole lot. And then I think Ananobi, maybe he fits better with the Knicks, but does he make them materially better? Do I now suddenly think the Knicks are going to vault up into the top 4 instead of being in the 5 through 8 range in the East? No, I don't think that he does that. Maybe you again make the argument that now the Knicks are going to go after, as you said, somebody else, the next whatever big star. Maybe they're going to try to pry Donovan Mitchell out of Cleveland here. Who knows? But I don't think that this trade sets Toronto up to really accelerate their rebuild. And they got a
yeah,
bunch of great assets. And I don't think it takes the Knicks where you're like, oh my God, they got Ananobi. Now this team's going to be a force to be reckoned with. I would match the Knicks up with any team in the East. And I don't think replacing Ananobi with Barrett doesn't make me think any different with any team in the Eastern Conference. I mean, maybe they're better, but I don't look at it and go, man, now that the Knicks have Anunoby, that means that when they play Milwaukee, I definitely think they're going to beat the Bucks. I mean, there's
No,
not one team in the
yeah,
Eastern Conference that I would say, man, Anunoby over Barrett is this huge upgrade that suddenly the Knicks are that much better. So that's why I said it's meh. I mean, I guess each team could kind of talk themselves into they got a player that maybe fits what they're trying to do a little bit better. But I mean, you're talking about the third, fourth, fifth best player on either team, and that just doesn't
yeah,
excite me all that much. So
yeah. All right, there you go. Okay,
talk Browns, man.
we,
Go ahead.
dude. Okay, so the Browns are have a week where we get to rest everybody. Now I know Stefanski's talked about. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. If he puts out these guys, if he puts Flacco out there, I'm gonna be irate. If he Because if he puts, my dad made this point. If he puts Flacco out there, that means that a Batonio's got to go out there, and Batonio's got a back issue right now. Like like 4 days before that game on Sunday, he literally was crawling up the stairs. Did you see that article? He was having to
I
crawl up the
did, yeah.
stairs at home. Like he couldn't even like. So if you put Flacco out there, you're, in my opinion, you're idiotic. Rest them all. I don't want Flacco. I don't want Batonio. I don't want Ford. I don't want Hunt. I don't want Cooper. I don't want Njoku. I don't want any of those guys seeing the floor. On defense, I don't want Denzel Ward. He's injury prone. I don't want Emerson. I don't want Miles. Like, figure it out. Like, make those 9 guys inactive. Or if you have to have them active, you just don't play them at all. Like, bottom line, you just go out there. This game is meaningless. It does not mean anything to Cincinnati. It does not mean anything to us. The only thing it would mean for us would be the second time and since 86 that we've had or 12 wins in a season. Okay. That's literally the only thing that has anything beneficial for this game. Like, and if he puts his starters out there, if it's one possession, I will accept that. I will accept one possession. But if it's like the second half and they're still out there playing, I'm gonna get livid. I'm gonna just get so mad and just yell at the TV like my dad yelled at the TV. My dad was yelling at the TV at Thursday Night Football. We were up 17 points. What the? I was yelling at the TV. I'm like, Dad, I know that this is the Browns. We're talking about we're up 17 points with 4 minutes left. He was complaining about anything that we did wrong. I'm like, this is what the Cleveland Browns have done to us. We're just gonna complain. Complain. I'm the voice of reason, Dad. Please listen to me. The Browns, so the Baltimore Ravens are currently the most bet team since the weekend. Baltimore Ravens to win the Super Bowl. The Cleveland Browns are the second most bet team to win the Super Bowl since the weekend. Did you know that, Mike? That's a fun fact for you.
Did not know that. I did not
Plus
know that.
3,500. Plus 3,500 for all you out there. You bet $1, win $35 for the Browns to win the Super Bowl. I'm not there yet, but just listen. I'm really happy about the Browns. I'm really happy that this game on Sunday is meaningless. I just hope we take advantage of it. My dad and I were discussing possible playoff situations and scenarios. Like, obviously we're gonna get the AFC South team. That is what it is. I think of the 3 teams, I would prefer to see the Colts. I would prefer to see the Colts out of the 3. I don't know how you feel. We beat all 3 teams. I just feel like Trevor Lawrence can be good if he wants to be, but Jacksonville has no home field advantage. I just don't buy. I don't buy it. The Texans didn't have CJ Stroud. That would be a different situation for us to deal with, but I think they've lost a lot with their major injuries they've had. But the Colts have Gardner Minshew on as their quarterback. If we didn't beat that guy a second time playing them with Flacco, I would be really disappointed. So I think I want the Colts, but I'm honestly not afraid of any of those 3 teams. The more important thing would be if the Bills somehow lose the game. I don't want the Steelers to win anyways, but if the Bills can somehow lose the game, Miami be the 2 seed, the Bills be the 6 or the 7 seed and make the playoffs. Then we get Miami Bills in the first round of the playoffs. with us going against, the 4-5 matchup. It would be really great if like the teams that are below us, the 6 or 7 seed, could upset so that they would have to play the Ravens in the second round and we could get like the Chiefs. I'd be okay playing the Chiefs in the second round. They look terrible. Or
Do they
or we
reseed it? Do they reseed it?
they reseed the NFL reseeded it. It started in 2020. It started in or like 2019, 2020. They reseed it. So the first seed will play the lowest seed no matter where they're at. So that's why I'm saying we want that 6 or 7 seed to win, Mike. We want the 6 or the 7 seed to win if we win, because then we're going to either get to play the Chiefs. I would rather play the Dolphins if they were the 2 seed. I would rather play the Dolphins than the Ravens, and save that for the AFC Championship. Save that Flacco magic for the AFC Championship game, going to Baltimore where he was anointed king the one time, MVP of the Super Bowl champion. Yes, the NFL reseeds, Mike. Fun fact.
All right, there we go. Okay, so here's what I'll say. You can't play anybody in this game because as snake bit as this team has been with injuries, just sit everybody. You don't play anybody that you think is going to play a meaningful role in the playoff game the next week. And then number two, as far as who we play, I really don't think it matters. I think, I mean, I guess I would probably rather play the Texans than anybody because I feel like they're the least experienced team. And I know Stroud's going to be back and he's been good this year, but I feel like Brown's defense in the playoffs against a rookie quarterback, I would probably feel the best against them, but I would be fine with either of the other two teams. I don't think that really matters all that much. It would be nice to avoid the Ravens in the second round. Although, again, I feel like the best version of this Browns defense, the question becomes can the Browns score enough offensively? I mean, that's going to be the question in the playoffs is can they score enough offensively to be able to beat teams? Because I think the defense is going to come to play as they've come to play for the majority of the season. So look, sit everybody this week. I don't care who we play. And then to your point with the reseeding, yeah, if the 6 or 7 seed could win one of those games, which I think, look, it's probably, if you're looking at Miami, I think Miami could definitely pull an upset over a higher seeded team if they end up in that 6 spot. I don't know if there's a huge chance for the 7 seed to be able to beat the 2. Although, again, you could be looking at
If it's
Buffalo, right,
Buffalo,
as the
if it's
number 2.
Buffalo, yeah.
Buffalo's
Buffalo
been
Buffalo
really
could be the number 7. Buffalo could be the 7,
right.
and then they could pull it out of their butts and win the game. Like they've had games
I
where they've
mean,
looked great, and they've had games they haven't looked good.
and look, if somehow the Steelers sneak in there, the Steelers have been pitiful offensively most of the year,
Well, not
but
the
I
last
would
2
not.
weeks. The last 2 weeks,
Okay,
the last
but
2 weeks they look
still,
great. Mason
but
Rudolph, baby,
still, but
with his nose
still,
so bright.
but still, I just think that if you're a team that you look across the field and you see the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're not going to be excited to play the Steelers no matter how bad they are. You see the Steelers in the
Exactly.
playoffs. I think they're going to make it a tough game for anybody. So look, I think it's wide open. I think the NFL this year is more wide open than it's ever been in recent memory. I don't think either the Ravens or the San Francisco 49ers are as good of a number one seed as we've had in the last couple of years. I think it's wide open. Look, do I think the Browns are going to get to the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. Do I think it's a possibility that is not ridiculously insane that they get to the Super Bowl? Yes, I do not think it's ridiculously insane. Whereas even the other 2 years when they were in the playoffs, you just thought, hey, there's no way we're like when we
Other
were in there
2
with
years.
Baker
Well, how
2 years
far are
ago,
we going back?
2007, right? Did with Derek Anderson in
Derek, we
2007?
did. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm just saying is that neither of those teams did you feel like in any way, shape, or form could put together a run to make it to the Super Bowl. This team, you can visualize what a Super Bowl looked like. Now, they're probably going to lose the first game because they're the Cleveland Browns, but there's a scenario
If
where you can talk yourself into them making the Super Bowl.
if
So
they get
that's
to
it
the
for me.
Super Bowl, are you gonna try to convince the wife to go to the game?
No, absolutely not. I'll be watching it on TV. I'll be watching that game on TV.
But yeah, I don't envision myself having the opportunity to do so if they got to the Super Bowl because I just don't think that my wife would go for it. I think my
Yeah,
dad
I
would
don't think
really,
I'd.
really
I
try
don't think
though.
I'd.
So
Yeah,
I think
I
my
don't think
dad would
I'd want
really
to spend
try.
the money. I don't think I'd want to spend the money to go to a Super Bowl
No,
game anyway.
you might
Football's
have to
better on
do.
TV.
You might have to. It's either do another year of teaching and go to the Super Bowl
Here's
or not. You're
there you
definitely
go.
choosing to go to the
Well,
Super Bowl.
here's the other thing that I would say though, right? Is I would be more interested in going to the Super Bowl if it was hosted in one team stadium. Like the idea after going to game 7 of the Cubs Indians World Series game, where it was
Oh yeah, I
sort of a
forget you were. I always
50-50
forget you
crowd,
were at. I always forget you were at the game too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
50-50 crowd, I was not a fan of that at all. I would have much rather been in Wrigley Field with the crowd filled with all Cubs fans, or let's get the Cubs fans out of Progressive Field and just have it be all Indians fans. I did not like the neutral. I did not like the neutral site. I did not like that at all. And so I don't think I would like it anymore for the Super Bowl. If you were talking about watching a game in one team stadium where either everybody's rooting for your team or everybody's rooting against your team, that to me would be a much better environment. So anyway,
Yeah. All right,
all
let's
right.
leave it there,
Anything
Mike.
else? Perfect. Sounds like a plan. Everyone, Happy New Year. Thanks for checking us out here in the first Hoopheads Pod episode of 2024. And we will catch you on the next one. Thanks.